Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Little Legends podcast. I am your host, the Blevins. Joining me today is my co-host Boop. Welcome.
How's it going?
And today we are joined by the brand new, newly minted, fresh off the presses C9 TFT Pro Khroen. Welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me here.
Super pumped to have you on. This is, I mean, we're a brand new show. You're a brand new TFT pro. I figured it was a good fit here. We gotta get that TFT community rolling here.
The synergy.
Yeah,
For sure.
that synergy here. Before we jump in, obviously we got a great show planned for you today. We're gonna be talking all about the also brand new 9.16 patch. Just came out today. I think less than 24 hours ago. I know Khroen because I've been lurking in your stream just about all day that you've been grinding. I've played exactly one game, and I mean, I don't want to spoil what my win rate is, but it's pretty good. But we're going to be talking all about that coming up. But I wanted to start here since we have you here, Khroen. I wanted to talk a little bit about you and about your past here, and just do like a little mini interview right up at the top here. And
Sure.
for those of you for those of the fans out here that aren't familiar with you, where'd you get your start with pro gaming? Because I know TFT, this is not your first game that you've gone pro in.
It is not. I played Heroes of the Storm professionally for about 3 years. I played it for about a year before that, before I went pro. Before that, I played League of Legends amateur level. I didn't quite make it to the professional stage. And around 2015, the Heroes of the Dorm collegiate tournament got announced for Heroes of the Storm, and that's when I made the swap over.
Nice, nice. Yeah, Heroes of the Dorm, always a hype tournament to watch, and I wasn't like super into Heroes of the Storm esports, but I always watch at BlizzCon because I've always been at BlizzCon, and Heroes of the Dorm was always a big one to watch too. So that's really cool. So obviously, Heroes of the Storm is a MOBA, right, by Blizzard,
Yep.
and TFT is I mean, it's technically an auto battler, but it's not a MOBA. It's not by Blizzard. It's a strategy game,
No.
really. What kind of led you into the world of TFT?
That's an interesting path, I suppose, 'cause they are pretty different games. I pride myself on being a pretty mechanically skilled player in MOBAs, like Heroes of the Storm. I was part of the top team in North America for quite a while. But after Blizzard canceled the HGC, I knew that wasn't the last thing I wanted to do in terms of competitive gaming. I
Mm-hmm.
still very much had a drive and a hunger to compete. I just didn't know what that would be in yet. I played
Mm-hmm.
League of Legends before Here's the Storm, so I made a transition back for a couple of months, but it didn't really click with me. I didn't really enjoy it as much as I had in the past. And then I heard about Dota Auto Chess,
Mm-hmm.
the sort of originator of this genre, and I played that for a couple of months, and I really enjoyed it. I climbed to the rank of Queen, highest rank, in a pretty short amount of. And I don't know, it just clicked with me. Like, it's just I enjoy thinking about things, like
Mm-hmm.
processing a lot of information at once, as you need to do in MOBA, and just being able to outplay your opponents and the decision making that you can make appealed to me. That aspect, and you can do that a lot. And there's so many minute decisions that you can make that will make or break the game. Just positioning what you want to transition into,
Mm-hmm.
scouting. There's so many things that happen on the fly, and it really is what separates the good players from the great players in
Mm-hmm.
auto chess or TFT, as I have transitioned into.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's kind of that. I like to be able to showcase my skills, and I think I can do that in TFT.
Yeah.
That's a really great quote. I enjoy thinking. I can't say the same for myself. Sometimes thinking is too much for me. So, like, now that you're, in this TFT world, is it kind of, or auto battle world, is it kind of like, oh man? Because I remember when I played my first round of Dota auto chess, I was like, oh no, this is gonna be bad. Like, I loved every second of this. Right? Was it a little bit of that, or was it more of a, I'm good at this thing, and I happen to really like it?
Definitely, I'm more of a mentally scaling kind of person when it comes to trying out a new thing for the first time. The first few days of it, I'll be pretty bad usually at something, but then after I get the hang of it, then I mentally scale pretty quickly.
Mhm.
I knew it'd be something that I would enjoy if I were to get good at, as a lot of things when you stick with it, then get better at it, then I'll have more fun. I enjoy winning a lot. You might be able to tell from being a competitive person. Winning is very, very fun to me. Um, I don't care if I have to spam, the same comp or play like the same hero or champion over and over again. If I win, that is worth it. I very much enjoy that. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Or at least partly. When I start something new, I'm really really bad at it, and that's it. That's the end of the story.
I'm actually, I'm one of those like annoying people where like if I start something and I'm bad at it, I just never play it again. Right, or like
Yeah.
even just like arts and crafts, right? Like when I was like 5 years old, someone was like, "You're bad at drawing," and I just stopped drawing for like the next 20 something years, right?
Oh no.
So I'm very jealous of your of that kind of ability to be able to like think about the fact that I might not be good now, but I'm gonna be good later if I put my mind to it. Because for me, unless I have some sort of like innate ability for something, it's not like worth my time a lot.
Yeah. It's not too hard for me because it's a pretty short amount of time. I mean, I'm the kind of person that I'll just like tunnel vision, just like spam one thing really hard. When I first started playing, auto chess games like 12, 14 hours a day for a few days, and then I got the hang of it from there. So it's not too big of a commitment. And I know that if I put that commitment in, I probably, maybe not FPS games. FPS games I've never really like super clicked with me.
Oh,
I've been
yeah.
okay at them. I can put a lot of hours in and not really have that same return on investment as some other ones. Like
It's funny how that works, right?
Auto battlers. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have our preferences. We have our skill sets.
That's for sure.
FPS is not the top of mind.
Let me tell you. I mean, Boop and I both come from the Overwatch world, but not from the playing Overwatch side.
No. Because like what I do is I'll watch Overwatch League, or after I cast contenders, I'll be like, I learned so much, I'm gonna do it in my game, right? And then I lose, and I realize I can't physically do what they're doing in the game already, and so that's a problem. But at least it's fun casting over it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So with TFT, obviously, when it came out, I mean, it kind of exploded. It's still kind of popping off. That happens from time to time with different games. And when a game pops off and it's got competitive viability, we start seeing the orgs come in. And Cloud9 is definitely an illustrious org, and B, usually an early adopter for sure. So tell me a little bit about kind of that. I mean, obviously, you don't need to give away details of the nitty gritty, but like, how did that conversation start? How did you kind of end up in the position you are with Cloud9?
I mean, when the PBE was the only place that you can play TFT. Riot posted the top 500 for the PBE, and I was among the top 500. I was maybe between like 300 or 400. But considering I had no idea that a leaderboard or anything of the sort would be posted, it felt good to be on there. I kind of trolled some of my games for the experiment, but then whoever played the PBE there, because no one knew there'd be leaderboards. But from there, I kind of was like, I like this game a lot. I think I can do something with it. That was a little bit of a confidence booster, being among some of the best already. So I started pursuing it, just super grinding. I think actually, first it was TSM maybe who tweeted that they were looking for either players or streamers or something of the sort, and so I had applied there to a couple of other organizations, and then someone from Cloud9 had reached out to me, and that's how that conversation started, and that's how I got here. Obviously, Cloud9, one of the biggest orgs in esports, had participated in Heroes of the Storm way back when I just first started getting into esports in general. And it was actually, I got to play with a couple of Cloud9 players at the time, Bobby Henkill and Taza. They were playing for one of the Cloud9 teams, and it was super cool being, amongst those people that I really looked up to. Bobby Henkill, from the League of Legends scene, and I paid attention to League a whole bunch. That's how I'd gotten into. And Here's the Storm, yada yada yada. But able to see these players coming from such an elite organization that I looked up to for so long, it means even that I get to join their ranks and represent them. It's super good feeling being able to, you know, come along the path that I've taken and keep progressing and not letting, you know, here's the storm kind of dying set me back and just keep pushing forward.
That's awesome. I remember one of the most hype moments I've ever seen live in esports, period, was when Cloud9 picked Murky at Blevins.
Oh my god, I was literally just thinking that. I was there. I was there at that tournament. It was so against DK Gaming, I believe.
Yes.
And it was Abathur, Murky, Tassadar. And I remember calling my friends and be like, yo, we're trying this at home, right? Because this is stupid. Right? It is just so good. And that was the first was that the first? It might have been the second BlizzCon, because that was the same BlizzCon that Overwatch the Origins was announced, I think. And I remember just being and watching Cloud9, and anytime you see a North American team, a really non-Korean team, you know, win a video game championship, it always feels a little extra special, right? It's like you get the upset going, and the way that it happened was so amazing. It was so cool to see. And I like, it's one of those moments in my like esports career as a viewer that I'll remember forever.
Oh, definitely. Everyone who paid attention to Heroes of the Storm professional scene then will remember the Cloud9 Murky and winning BlizzCon. That was just just epic moment for everybody there.
Yeah.
It was insane. That's one, why Cloud9, one of the reasons why, drew me to them and just made this moment, me representing them so much more, I guess, impact.
Yeah, that's it. It's such a cool, obviously such a cool moment, such a great thing for you to obviously be associated with them for TFT. And in that vein, the last kind of topic we'll cover here before we move in to what we've been doing in TFT this past week. In terms of obviously playing for Cloud9, TFT, and streaming for Cloud9, do you have any sort of plans for TFT specifically? Are there any tournament series or anything that you can talk about? Any plans that you can talk about for TFT coming up?
Yeah, there's going to be the OEL 1K Invitational that'll be happening, I believe, early September. There is qualifiers for that tomorrow, and then on Saturday, I believe. So I'll be playing in those in the near future. I've played in some of their weekly tournaments, very small prize pools, but still, it's good to see some people trying to get, the amateur up and coming scene going before any real big things are announced. It's nice to, be able to win a few bucks, test your skill versus other good players trying to compete and things like that. So yeah, that's pretty cool. There's also, I believe, a LAN tournament kind of thing. It's hosted by GG Champions, I believe, and there's some centers where people can go and participate. And I believe it's over like 4 weeks, and there's supposed to be championships. I'm not exactly sure of all the details offhand for that, but I think it's something like one of the centers is like 15 minutes away from me, 10-15 minutes. So I might be going there and trying to participate in that. I believe you could win a whole cool PC setup or something, as well as a bunch of riot points. Probably something worth investing some time into checking out. I know there's going to be some TFT at TwitchCon, I believe, but I'm not really sure more about that right now. But maybe in the future will be some good news about that.
Cool. Yeah, that is good to know. I'm gonna have to look into those local tournaments where there might be something in Toronto I can drive up to. But great. So now that we know you, Khroen, we can go in and start talking about our week in TFT. But we're gonna do that right after a short break here. All right, welcome back, everyone. And now we're going to talk a little bit about our week in TFT. And as is tradition, or at least I think, we've only had one episode. But as is tradition, we're going to start with our guest here. Let's talk a little bit about, maybe a little bit about your week before, and maybe more about your specific day today, because today is the big patch day, Khroen.
Yeah, just in TFT in general, past week. I mean, I've just been trying to climb as much as I can before this patch, and I played PBE last couple of days, trying to study up on what would be good. Yeah, today jumping into ranked, we climbed about 100 or so points on my Smurf account, so it should be Challenger when that updates. So yeah, I'm sitting around 100 LP right now. Didn't quite hit my goal, which was to get into the top 30. of NA,
No,
which is about 200 points.
Almost
but...
uninvited you because you didn't get top 30. But
I'm glad you didn't. Next
Only
time I'll
peak
try
talent
harder.
allowed here.
Yeah,
You don't get called a
top
legend for no reason.
This is true.
You're a medium legend. You're not quite a little legend.
Yeah, Blev and I are so much better than everyone else. We're on a different list.
Yeah, I'm on a completely different server that no one knows about. I can't show you pictures of where I am, but just know we're number 1 and 2. Tied.
Yeah, it's actually just us.
Yeah,
we're the top 2 on the region.
Who's number 1? Who's number 2 though?
We're tied.
Yeah, we're tied at both 1 and 2. Yeah, it's actually
that's crazy.
It's just 1 is Bloop and 2 is also Bloop, and it's just a combination of both.
Yeah.
Nice.
My dad works at Riot.
Yeah.
Oh, I got you. The classic.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know why I went down this route, but what about you? On a slightly more real note, how was your week in TFT?
It was up and down, let me tell you. So I took Josh's advice, and he was like, you got to grind rank before this patch, and I tried to do that yesterday, and I did really good. I got back up to Plat 2.
Nice.
And that felt good because I had been ramming my head in the basement of Plat for so long. And then I did not listen to his advice when he said, don't play ranked today because you won't know what you're doing. And I did anyway. And so I was actually super stoked because I played a Void Brawler game. I ended up winning. And it was the first one. I was like, okay, I'm fucking grinding. Right. And then I got 8th 4 times in a row.
Oh,
yeah.
Big yikes.
Yeah. It's just kind of like when you start losing, there's something about, especially TFT, where you're like, oh, the next one's going to be different, right? Tilt feels differently in this game than other games that I've played, because in League, it just feels like when I play regularly, it's just anger, right? But with TFT, it's kind of more I'm a lot more optimistic about my tilt. Things will change. I should have just stopped after the 8th place. But what was happening was I just really wanted to try. One of my biggest mistakes, I try new things in ranked. I should never do that. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Camille looks cool, right? Oh, Vi, that's a cool ult. And all of a sudden I have 2 Hex Techs, 2 Brawlers, 2 Wild. I have a Gunslinger in there for some reason, right? And it's not Jinx, right? And then I lose. I'm all the way down to Plat 4 again. So, yeah. So, also, I love to reroll just too much. It's still a problem for me. I just love pressing that button because there's nothing. It's that one time you go, all right, I need a Vi, and then you reroll and it's there. You're like, okay, cool. I'm going to do it another 10 times and everything that I need, right?
Perfect reroll luck.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes it happens, but you think about that one game for so long. It might have been 18 games ago, but yeah, that one time I got a Viger 2 at 2-4. Right, that's gonna happen again, right? And it never does. And so instead, I got 8th a bunch of times. So I've gotten 1st and 8th today. That's it.
Nice. Yeah, I played exactly 1 game. I did take Josh OG's advice and didn't play ranks in my first game. I just played normal. So take the result for what it's worth. But I did get 1st. Mostly from nobles being very good. Thank you, Khroen, for that advice.
Yep.
That's the beauty. I can't play during the day, so I'm just watching streams all day, birding these pro players, asking them what's good, and then they tell me. That's the best part, and then I look so good when I play at home. It's so great. I let them do all the work for me so that I don't have to. But Boop, you did mention getting 8th a bunch of times. You did mention spamming losing. I want to talk about the Heroes Earth TFT fight night. No, it's okay. I'm taking your downplay and shifting it over to mine.
You're pretty much I'm not the worst one here. Poop is also bad.
No, because your games weren't on camera. Your horrific failures weren't on camera, but mine were for the Heroes Earth TFT fight night. Which was casted by none other than Khroen down here. So the TLDR is I got dead last, and I don't want to blame RNG because it was definitely my fault for how poorly I played. But I had a ton of fun doing it. Khroen, do you want to talk a little bit about this event, your experience casting it?
Yeah, sure. So I had originally played Heroes of the Storm professionally for Heroes Hearth, and they were moving out of the esports scene but into doing a bunch of content, and they wanted to do a TFT show, with TFT getting so much popularity, and of course reached out to me and said, "Hey, you want to cast?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, why not? Like that sounds pretty enjoyable, pretty fun." So it's every other Monday. A bunch of people are invited on, participate in a 4-game tournament, or you can win some money. You know, the bits that are cheered throughout the night go to the players. Super cool event, and yeah, you appeared on there and tried to roll hard for some gunslingers.
That was so nice, by the way. You appeared. You were there.
That's
Here's
true.
your participation trophy.
I was there.
You took part. It's like wearing the "I voted" sticker. Right? It's like I took part.
Yeah.
Rolled for some gunslingers, and it didn't quite work out. But, you know, it happens. It happens. It's always that you know, next game maybe I'll get lucky. It's like, what's that one more?
It's true.
Boop was referring to.
Yeah, it's just the wanting to hit that reroll button to the max of like, oh, I have to hit the reroll button, and then but here's the beauty: I get to blame RNG when I lose those games because I just didn't get the Tristana 3. Don't look at the fact that I leveled too early because I didn't commit early enough. Don't look at that. Let's just look at the fact that I had 8 Tristanas for the whole game.
Yeah, we were watching that one. We were just, oof. Did you get it yet? Come back over like 10 rounds later. Ooh, still 8 Tristanas.
Still 0 gold.
Rolling it down every time.
Yeah, rolling it down. I do want to point out that I did my due diligence of buying out every one that I could and rolling, and then trying to maximize my odds at least, and I didn't get it. I mean, I did mess up early, but because
today I said the words in my head. I don't remember the last time I had 50 gold in this game, and realized that I'm probably doing something wrong again. But yeah, so tell me about your gunslingers, dude. So we've heard about the 8th place, we've heard about the Tristana, but why gunslingers? Because the last time that we talked about this, we all talked about how gunslingers are such like a bait for for early game. Like we talked about this.
Here's my exact logic, and I think the logic plays out here. So I was, I think, the lowest ranked player in this lobby. Maybe there's one other person that was like similarly, but like I was a plat player in a lobby full of grandmasters, masters, and challengers, and I think there may have been like one diamond player. So like I'm very clearly outclassed here. Okay, so if I'm gonna try to take my if I'm going to try to play up at that level and play a fair game, I'm going to just the statistically, I'm going to lose against these players. Like I am not as good as these players, and I can accept that. So I'm doing the equivalent of cannon rushing here. I need to try to get some like early 3-star Tristana, some early 3-star Graves, rack up a gangplank, and like get some early 3-stars and just try to cheese it with only 5 heroes and just hope that I can get something and try to get like a top place.
Okay, pause.
I didn't.
What did you think about what Blevin just said? If you were to give any feedback on the strategy, or positive feedback as well, what would you say?
I don't disagree with that logic. I feel as though trying to contest against players who are going to be much better than you, in your opinion, if you feel like you're outclassed, maybe just trying to get lucky in high roll is one of your best chances of winning. You could try to go toe to toe and just play better, but if on average you're not going to make the same correct decisions that they are, I don't dislike that strategy. I think that committing for it, saying this is what I'm going to do, I either high roll and get a couple points, get on the leaderboard, or I just burn out, 8th place, don't roll what I need, then it's a risk, but I don't dislike it.
Yeah. It's a risk, but like that's like if we're going just by projections, that's where I was projected anyway. So I can't get 9th, right?
Yeah, you're not disappointing anybody, right?
Well,
you're just when expectations are low.
Let's not say that. There's still plenty of people disappointed, I'm sure. But yeah, I want to round out this one with, again, still talking about me, of course, because why not?
It's easy. Yeah.
My highlight of the event was just my my actually having the tier, or no, did I have the tier 3? It doesn't matter. My gunslingers not being able to take out a tier 2 Fiora with no.
Oh yeah.
That just Fiora. Tier 2 Fiora is forever the bane of my existence and my new like arch enemy forever now because of that.
I love your reaction,
Oh.
man. It's pretty much, yep, that sucked. Yeah, you did not take out that tier 2 Fiora.
Well, it was great because you guys are just like, oh yeah, yep, he's got 3v1 versus. I think he's gonna have enough here, and it's like, oh wait, dodges a bomb, wait, dodges another bomb, and then it's like, you're like literally Faker. That Fiora is literally Faker. I'm like,
Yep, that Fiora played out of her mind there. Null buff Fiora, I think, is the strongest unit in the game, obviously, clearly, and you felt the power of that.
yeah,
Unfortunately.
I just remember seeing it like unfolding and my eyes just like opening wide up, and then like I can see, like, I don't have the audio on, but I can see like what's going on in the cast. I just see you guys like cracking up. I'm like, oh, this is happening. But
That
yeah,
must be that must be fun as like a caster though, because like there's just some things in this game where you're like, well, you're just shit out of luck, right? like this just sucks for you, and so you can kind of like take into and kind of run with it. But what do you think of casting, man? Like, because I come from the casting world and the Overwatch world, and of course it's something that I've been looking into for TFT. How was it, like the tempo and like working with someone else, and what were you guys kind of focusing on?
Yeah, sure. So I'm definitely very new to casting. It's something that people have said, oh, I think you might be good at that. You know, back when I was doing Heroes of the Storm, they said, oh, maybe when you retire, maybe become a caster. And I kind of was like, no, I don't think I want to do that. I don't think I want to do that. But it's super fun so far. I took this opportunity, and I'm really good friends with Casanova, who's my co-caster, also a former professional Heroes of the Storm player. You know, we mesh really well. We play D&D like, you know, almost every week for the past couple of years.
What class do you play in D&D?
D&D? Well, I play a few different campaigns right now. I think my favorite is all-time, maybe, I don't know, it's between Bard and Rogue. It's definitely between Bard and Rogue.
I don't know why, but I was thinking Rogue for you. I have no idea why.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have a female barbarian named Barbara Cunningham that I love. There's just something about her, and I've checked into intelligence for no reason. So I'm like, it has been fun. It has been fun. My charisma is really high, and so I just kind of like walk into every situation just like a barbarian, but I tend to get away with anything. But anyway, D&D is another game.
Yeah.
Let's go back to casting.
I just play NPCs. My girlfriend writes campaigns for Call of Cthulhu, which is like a different it's D&D in a different universe, and I just voice act and act all of the NPCs that she writes. I don't for some reason I don't like actually playing. Yeah, no, that's the most fun part is trying to trick the actual players into doing things and like lead them down red herrings and whatnot. It's fun.
As long as you enjoy it.
Yeah, it's the game of your imagination.
Yes. Yes. All right, let's move on here and talk about some news. Obviously, we are talking with the product of one of these pieces of news here. Cloud9 entering the TFT world, obviously with Khroen, who we have here on the show, and Jay Shreet. I don't know if I'm butchering that. I apologize.
Jay Shreet.
Jay Shreet. Okay, awesome. Who
so
also
fancy.
Yes, and foreign. Brazilian? Is that Brazilian?
Yep.
Brazil. Okay, cool. Portuguese. Yeah, so you two obviously are here in Cloud9. Jay Shrita also was at the Heroes Hearth TFT event. Also crushed me, which was fun. But that's great. Obviously, Cloud9 joining is a huge thing. And we also have TSM sign their players. They've got Solus and Keen jumping in to the TFT world for two big esports orgs. Obviously, TSM, their roots are in League of Legends, so it's not that big of a surprise. But it's always nice to see orgs jump into a new game, especially when I really enjoy that game. Awesome. So let's jump in here to the meat and potatoes of this episode, and that's going to be the 9.16 patch notes. Whew. I'm just going to read through some of this, and then we'll pause after each thing, and we'll just kind of give our thoughts and opinions and whatnot. So we start out with the intro. Not too much interesting there, but we're starting out with the biggest change here. We're getting 4 new champs. We've got the Hextechs. The Hextech champions are all strong and serve their own purpose, but together they give some counterplay to items. But the bomb itself can be played around. We hope this adds a new and interesting dynamic to play around. If you've been living under a rock, but still listen to a TFT podcast, the trait is they when you have 2 hex techs, they throw a bomb at an enemy unit, and it disables all enemies in a 1 if you have 2, and then 2 if you have 4 hex radius for 8 seconds. So we're disabling items. We've got some item counterplay. Without going into the specific champions themselves, Khroen, what are your initial thoughts here on just hex tech as the trait?
So my original first impressions on the Hextech's trait were that it was going to be pretty toxic and unfun to play against, similarly to the Phantom synergy. But now, I mean, it does depend on the units. I think if there, are just blatantly really strong Hextech units, then that synergy would be pretty broken. But for now, it seems unfun to play against, but kind of balanced at the same time. Going to need to experiment a bit more with it, try the new units out to really see where that will lie in this meta, though.
Boop, what have you experienced or thought with Hextech so far?
I mean, we talked about it in the last episode, right? Where I was like, I don't know, 8 seconds feels like a really long time, right? Like, this feels over. Like, just the way it reads, you're like, I don't know about this. I can't believe, like, they're, like, going with this amount of time. But actually, it's been pretty cool. I've noticed that some people, at least in my games, I'm not as good as you guys, of course. But
we're ranked at the same rank, so don't lump me in. Don't lump me in with this, please.
I think, like, once I realized, like, it's all about positioning other people, because one of my games we had a ton of hex techs. People just stopped stacking items on some people, and it actually affected a lot of positioning. I saw formations that I had never seen before work really, really well. More kind of like straight lines, some curves, like a little bit, and one wave that was really, really cool. So it's not like that these things were effective or things that I'm going to try, but I think what it's cool is that, like, people have been forced to think about that because of hex techs being in the game, and what that would do is hopefully cause some innovation. So that's what I'm happy about. But once someone finds that, like, the min-maxing of the hex techs and finds the positioning that gets the most out of it, it's going to be weird to react to that. I think that's when it starts to become a little less fun and interactive.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything that you guys said here. The biggest thing for me in the exactly 1 game on the new patch I've played so far was kind of in the, like, early-ish, like, transitioning into the mid-game. I was like, okay, do I want to put 2 completed items on my Varus, or do I want to put 1 on my Varus and 1 on... Like, do I want to put this Morello... I already have an item on Varus. Do I want to put this Morello's on my Garen, or do I want to put it on... stack it on the Varus? And I'm like... well, there's a couple people playing Hextech. It's like the early game, and, like, my Varus is still, like, tier 1, so I'm just gonna I'm gonna split it up, and it ended up being, like, all right. I mean, this was the game I won, so obviously it was the correct decision. But yes, results-oriented thinking, that's the best way to do it. I'm kidding. I don't want to actually give out bad information. That's what's called a sarcasm. But yeah, I mean, I think it feels in the late game, it feels very similar to Blitzcrank positioning, right? Where it's like, well, I can check if there's fewer players, I can check the boards and be like, okay, there's no Blitzcrank, I don't need to worry about it. Okay, no one's running Hextech, I don't need to worry about it. Or, like, there's one guy running Hextech, I'm probably if I, like, stack like an idiot, he could theoretically kill me. So I'm gonna position a little bit differently, and, like, you probably lose a few percentage points against other people doing that. Just like you, I mean, it doesn't seem, and I'm kind of interested in what you guys think. It doesn't seem as bad as, like, well, I have my hyper carry in the corner and I get wrecked by the Blitzcrank player who pulls my, like, Ashe with 3 items versus the Hextech hits my, like, two or maybe probably not 3, but, like, 2 units. It like negates 2 units worth of items. It doesn't feel as strong as, like, the Blitzcrank misplay. What do you think, Khroen, about that?
Just about the Hextech versus the Blitzcrank thing?
Yeah. To me, it doesn't feel like it. I feel like I get punished more by mispositioning against Blitzcrank than Hextech.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, mispositioning your like 3 item hyper carry in the corner versus a blitz feels worse because the items are also gone and the unit is gone with no chance for those items to be re-enabled again. I mean, there are scenarios definitely that the one hex tech bomb disabling like multiple units worth of items could be worse, but I would agree on average Blitzcrank would be a bit a bit worse to misposition against. I do, however, think that as you alluded to or referenced in your preface about this, that positioning against those few things that are on the board, I think it's always going to be still good to do, even there's only like one hex tech player, one blitzcrank player. I've gotten punished so many times by being like scouting a little bit too late and saying, oh, that's one blitzcrank player. Probably won't run into him. The next turn I run into him, I'm like, punished every time. So I always make it a habit to position the best I can against everybody. That way, if I get that one unlucky matchup and I don't rightly lose like 20 HP or I shouldn't.
Yeah, I definitely think it's. I mean, it in a way it adds more. It adds more percentage to like outplay your opponents. Where like I'm the dumb no think. I'm not gonna reposition because I'm too lazy, and like the person that's positioning is probably gonna on it. I mean, at least like have extra health and get a couple extra wins, especially over the course of like multiple games. So I like it from that aspect. I mean, in general, from a high concept game design thought process, like turning things off is usually kind of a feel bad. It's like discard and Magic the Gathering, or silence in MOBAs, I guess. It's just kind of doesn't feel great, but at least anecdotally one game, but I watched a lot of games. It didn't feel like super like, well, I guess I just don't get to play. It's more like
definitely not what demons were a couple patches ago.
Yes.
Right? Like that was oppressive. That was like that was not fun. And this was definitely something that I felt like I could work around, and I think that's the key. We might find that it's a little strong or a little weak a little bit later, but at least the dev team is like releasing something and it's not absolutely broken again and kill it. Because at a beginning stage of a game, those decisions can affect player base massively. And so I'm glad that they're thinking it through, because not only did they add hex techs, they added 4 new characters as well.
Yeah. And let's actually jump in and talk about some of those characters. We don't need to go in super detail on some of them, but I think there's definitely conversations we have. Well, I mean, I'll get to that in a bit, but we're gonna start with Camille. All of these new heroes are hex tech, obviously. She is also a blade master. Her ability is the Hex Tech Ultimatum, which roots an enemy and forces her in-range teammates to target whomever she's fighting. She's a 1 gold Hex Tech Blade Master. Khroen, initial thoughts on Camille?
She is bad. That just it feels really bad to build Camille. If you get 3 Camilles in your first roll, maybe run her for a little bit, but she actually is often a bad thing to have on your team, because if your units are attacking other ones, about to kill them, then she ultimates and taunts kind of and forces units to stop what they're doing, run around, often in not optimal positioning, and so they sometimes get stuck. They sometimes just the unit that was fighting them will just kill them. It's often pretty unfortunate to try to deal with. It makes interesting scenarios for 9 Blade Masters to be a bit more viable or relevant if someone were to go 9 Blade Masters, but I don't think that's a good nor reliable enough strategy to really warrant you building a Camille. Maybe as you'd build it for 2 Hex Techs, but oftentimes not.
Boop, any thoughts on Camille?
She is a big reason why I got 8th a bunch of times. So I'm just gonna agree with Khroen, because man, if I had a nickel for every Camille I got in those games, I'd have like 35 nickels. Because yeah, I know, man. We all have that character that always pops up when we don't need them. Right, like you'll see 18 Rek'Sais for some reason when you're going nobles, right? And then when you're going void brawlers, right, you don't see the Rek'Sai. And so Camille was my character today, where she was just like clogging up all my packs, man. It was I had twice there were 3 Camille's in my pack, and it didn't matter. I still got 8th. So maybe that's on me on my positioning, but I actually got screwed over by that taunt a couple times, particularly with a Volibear that I had, right, where he was like getting like a lot of AoE damage down, and then the taunt came, and he left to go find someone who was isolated, and his AoE damage stopped, right, and so like yeah, I was pissed, man. I was on heavy tilt though, so maybe my emotions were in an odd place.
Yeah, I think any unit that you are actively putting in that has the chance to screw you over without a high upside, a very, very high upside, I think that one stays on the bench for me. Unless they like somehow optimize that, that seems like a pass for me. Next up, we have Jace, whose ability disrupts the enemy front line by knocking back an enemy unit with his Thundering Blow. He then switches to his Mercury Cannon, bringing increased attack speed and ranged damage. He is a Hextech Shapeshifter for 2 gold. Any experience with Jace yet, Khroen?
Yeah, I tried out... The most notable time I tried out Jace was with 6 Brawlers and a Jace in there as the solo carry until I found the Jinx, and we'll talk about her later. But I had 2 Static Shivs and a Guardian's Angel on Jace, and he actually did work. Vi, who is a Brawler, synergizes, so you have 2 Hextechs to get rid of enemy items, and then when he transforms, he auto-attacks very rapidly, so it procs Static Shiv very fast, which did seem to feel pretty decent. Until I found the Jinx, sold him off, and then put the items on her. But no, I think he's okay. And with people, I've seen a couple of very strong shapeshifter comps, or even running 6 shapeshifters. And while he's not one of the integral parts of those compositions, just being able to enable something that could potentially be that powerful is very interesting, and something that I would like to see and possibly explore myself in the next coming days.
Boop, have you gotten to use Jace yet?
Yeah. I did play a normal game, and I did go 6 shapeshifters. It was super fun. It was just cool to see like Shyvana ult and then gain all of her health back, right? And I saw potential. And I actually think
I see it happen to me.
I actually think Jace might be exactly what Khroen is saying, and I don't think he's meant to be that character who you're gonna be like putting out a ton. It's kind of like what we used to do with Fiora, where we just put like items on Fiora because we were gonna sell her anyway, right? And then we just transition out of that. I think Jace is meant to be that way too. Someone who can just be solid, fit into a lot of team comps. Yeah, that you might not finish a game with, but if you do, you're also not like shooting yourself in the foot. So I think the fact that he feels very average is exactly what they wanted. And so, and he's also the handsomest man in League of Legends. So,
whoa, I don't know. Maybe Tarek would give him a run for his money.
Draven,
only Pink Tarek. And Draven, you gotta have to be into that. So,
also, I mean, honestly, it's Gangplank, but I mean, I'm a little bit biased here. But yeah, I think.
I was going to say something mean. Continue.
We can save that for the after show and the Christmas card. But I think, just my personal opinion is that like you were saying, the like mid-game like transitional carry is one of the most important nuances of getting first specifically first in Teamfight Tactics, because like there's a lot of comps that I find myself building like ninjas and assassins in certain metas where it's like I can get like top 4 pretty consistently, but I'm not getting first in a lot of those games because I don't transition. Like I hit my power spike, and like then like the Draven comps and the 6 Sork comps just wipe me out in the top 4. But like being able to like have that Jace and have him be like a centerpiece that you can start building your like end game items that, like you said, Khroen, you put it on Jinx, or you could put them on a Draven, or you could put them on whatever end game super carry. Having that piece and knowing what that piece is to like get you to that point is, I think, super important and something that I personally struggle with in certain comps, because I'm just like, yeah, I mean, I just keep buying sorcerers kind of randomly, and then I either like I just end up like getting my like either my 6 Sork or like getting a like stable comp, but I've got like 12 health and I don't know what to do. So being able to have that mid game is really strong. The next one up here is Vi. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce. Is it Vi or V?
Yep.
It is Vi.
Back in my day, League of Legends, I played in like 2009, so I don't know a lot of these characters from League of Legends. But her ability is she targets the furthest enemy and charges towards them, knocking aside and damaging every enemy along the way. Once she gets there, she knocks her target up and damages them. She is a Hextech brawler at 3 gold. Khroen, what have you noticed about Vi?
Well, it's nice to be able to fit 6 brawlers in. I think 6 brawlers is going to be a viable strategy. Being able to, I actually got super punished earlier in my last game on stream. I got second instead of first because I have a Vi charging my Draven that I mispositioned for. So it's something, yeah, it's something to get used to, like a Blitzcrank. Hooked my other unit next to the Draven. Yeah, they had both a Blitzcrank to hook my Lucian away from him, and then Vi to charge him when he was alone.
So, so you had to position too deep now because wow, that's huge.
I positioned like both sides, so my Vayne was, I was playing 6 nobles. My Vayne was on one side to bait the blitz, and my Lucian was on the other side in case they swapped. But then they swapped, and the Vi was there, which it was so much.
Ooh.
But no, I think Vi is pretty good, and even maybe viable in non-brawler compositions. I think sorcerer compositions, Vi could actually be viable because she does a lot of base damage. I think it's 450 at tier 2, buffed up by sorcerer, and maybe having a Morello's on her because Morello's was a popular item on Pyke. It's kind of like a reverse Pyke in that sense, where she starts in the front and then charges the back. You know, Pyke goes to the back, charges.
Oh, so when she charges and makes contact, Morello's procs?
Yep, she deals damage and and it's even like a slight mini stun. Say a Karthus is casting and she passes the Karthus, he will stop casting.
Yeah, for me, all she was doing was knocking them out of the Cho'Gath ult. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of interesting things you might be able to do with her. So definitely one that I'll have my eye on and being will try more. But I think she's pretty solid.
Huh.
Yeah,
my mind is going ablaze.
I'm thinking the same thing. I didn't even think about that. I mean, that's another one of those like, oh, you can even have a Vi in like the mid game, kind of like I've done with Pyke, where it's like, oh, he's holding my Morellos now. Maybe he keeps the Morellos and I invest more in him, or it's like, yeah, I got this Morellos for a late game Karthus or something. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. See, this is why really my ulterior motive.
This is why you're a pro.
Well, this is my ulterior motive. I'm bringing on pros and players. We're not even recording. There's no podcast. This is just my personal training session.
This is all
Yeah. No, I'm kidding. We are live. But yeah, no, that is interesting here.
I love Vi. I thought she was super fun. Just like in general, like her aesthetic is really cool. I like the coolest thing is when there's Vi's on both teams and they all just like knock everyone around, and then it just kind of feels like Boggle, right, where you shake everything, you just get what you get, right, and that's what positioning is. And now you get like the Jace knockback and then the Cho'Gath ult. It's almost like a trampoline park in there nowadays.
Sometimes I watch fights, I'm just like, what is going on? I don't know.
I guess I won that. Cool.
Yeah.
Do we know how much mana she has? And the reason I ask is, can you like stack like can you just stack 6 tiers on her and just like fly around like punching like?
Actually, my roommate Faye, who won the Heroes Hearth tournament thingy, she said she tried Seraphs on Vi, and it was very funny, and she ulted a lot of times. I believe she has 125 mana, starts with 50, but I could be wrong about that one. So yeah, it takes a bit to get to that point, but maybe viable.
So let's see if you had 3. Okay, I'm gonna have to try that in a normal game for sure. But you asked what my favorite hero, my favorite new hero is. That's got to be Jinx. I do have an affection for gunslingers here, but Jinx's ability is gets excited after her first takedown. Same. Gaining bonus attack speed. If she scores a second takedown, she pulls out fish bones, which is her rocket launcher, causes her attacks to deal AoE damage. She is a 4 gold gunslinger or Hextech gunslinger. I mean, she does AoE damage. She's a hyper carry. She's a gunslinger. It's checking all the boxes for me. She has a giant rocket launcher, which is sweet. The animation looks cool. This is definitely my favorite hero so far, and she wasn't my winning comp that I had, so definitely wins my heart here. But Khroen, what's your experience with Jinx so far?
So I have a short list of overtuned heroes or champions for this patch, and she makes that list of I think the champions that are overtuned. That Jace comp that I referenced earlier, you know, I replaced the Jace with the Jinx, gave her those items, and a neat thing about playing her with 6 brawlers is that if you place a Blitzcrank right next to her, Blitzcrank will hook a target, which is usually a very weak target, and she'll kill it super fast because she'll change target prioritization. So she already gets that first part of her ultimate, and it doesn't take too long to get that second part where then she'll do AoE and start wrecking everything. I think the comp that you played earlier was Nobles, right? And you had a Jinx in there?
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, she synergizes with a Gunslinger of Lucian, gets that free little synergy there. Really hard to kill her because 6 Nobles, I think, are very overtuned right now and super broken, but Jinx being also overtuned, synergizing with that, yeah, spells a lot of destruction for anyone running up against that one.
Yeah.
Everyone who won my games, because I like to watch the end just to kind of like see what happens. Everyone who won had a Jinx in their comp.
Yep.
Seems good. Also notable, she triggers off those stupid Elise spiders. So yeah, feed me those spiders. Yeah, I saw someone like when I got the Jinx, someone had an Elise, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be bad. I'm gonna ruin this guy's day with this, and I did. But yeah, so. Those are the top 4, or those are the 4 new heroes. If you're listening to this in podcast world, tweet at us at Lil Legends Pod and let us know who your favorite Hextech hero is so far. We got some systems changes here as well. Matchmaking, they've improved how matchmaking works to prevent the streaky scenarios where you face the same player or ghost army 2 or more times in a row. Now this should almost never happen. I mean, that's good, right? Like you don't, you're not always. I mean, this is more relevant in the literally 3 people left scenario, right? Where it's like
where you get the echo 7 times in a row and you win.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like this is helping me more than it was hurting me. But
I know, right?
I mean, it's good for the game. Any other thoughts on it, Khroen?
No, definitely. I don't know why that wasn't already in the game before, because there was a lot of scenarios where even it happened a few games in a row where I would be top 3 and I would just face the clone like 6-7 times in a row, and I would just be able to econ back up to 50 and then level to like 9 and just be able to win the game because that happened. And also combined with the fact that clones are bugged and don't provide synergies, so they're just an easy win. It's definitely a big old question mark as to why that was in the game for so long, but I'm glad that they fixed that. I think it's a lot more healthy for the game. Also will provide opportunities for players in the top 3 to know who they're playing against most likely in those scenarios, since you're not going to get the same player twice. So yeah, I do like this change a lot.
Yeah, I think it's just a like no-brainer quality of life, especially since playing the Ghost Army is kind of like a free win, except in the like rare scenarios where the person is like way stronger. But even then, like you're still beating the Ghost Army a lot of the time. But even bigger change here is the URF or URF. Yeah, it's URF, right? Overtime mode. They say we don't like draws; they're not fun. So now, 30 seconds into the battle, URF overtime kicks in and speeds things up for 15 seconds. Draws are still possible, but there should be a lot less of them. This mode, the stats of this mode is 30 seconds into the battle, the overtime activates. Everyone gets 300% attack speed, 200% ability damage, 66% reduced crowd control duration, so stuns and whatnot are reduced by 66%. Healing is reduced by 66%, and 30% increased affection towards marine mammals. So that's the reference to
Baited.
Earth. I got baited. I got baited.
Someone's
This is a real change.
teleprompter.
Oh. Yeah.
Affection towards marine. Oh, yeah. Yes, towards nature's speed bumps. Huh. Bet they didn't think I was going to take it there. Boop, what do you think about overtime mode?
I thought so. I didn't know it was actually, for some reason, I just did not read that part of the patch notes in any time. I was so focused on this hex tech stuff. It's like when you are in school and you turn in a piece of paper, you get it back, and you turn it over, and you realize there's a backside to it.
Oh,
you just didn't get anything on that side. That's what I did. Because at first, I was like, "What the hell?" Right? Because why is the Earth sound comes on, which is very, very notable, because if you've ever played Earth in League of Legends, it's everywhere. And I thought it was cool, actually. Kind of added stakes to the end of your game, right? So I think it made it a little bit more interesting. I lost most of those, so I'm not sure I personally enjoy it as much as I could have, but I thought it was cool. I think it adds a cool dynamic to the end of the game. I didn't like drawing out because, when the Braum has Thornmail and stuff, you're just hitting a shield for 30 seconds. It's not very fun to watch. At least if they're attacking faster, it's going to be a little bit more entertaining.
Yeah. Khroen, what do you think about Earth overtime?
Yeah, I like it. The point that I made, we don't like draws. I didn't either. Draws feel really bad when it's at 1 HP, but the time ends and you both take damage, you lose win streaks, etc., etc. So I like it, but on the other hand, I do think it is exploitable. Potentially not something that many people have experimented with yet, but I think with potential 6 nobles and some other itemization things, you could probably force overtime mode every time and maybe win because of that. I'm not quite sure. It's something to look into. Maybe maybe one of those Braum scenarios could be exploited in the overtime mode. Not quite sure. It's something to pay attention to. But overall, I like it. And as long as they're looking at those things that could be overtuned with them, I think it's fine.
I'm just wondering if I would have won or lost more my 3v1 versus that tier 2 match. I don't know. We'll never know.
Who knows?
Hopefully I don't get another clip like that. There's also some rank changes that I don't think are super relevant, so we're not going to go over them. We also got a change to player damage. Basically, player damage is going to stack more into the late game. They said that they made some changes to player damage at 9.15, which reduced it quite a bit because the game was super aggro back then. But it led to longer games than intended, especially when fights were close. So we're making some more adjustments. Overall, the damage should still be less than at launch. Basically, in stages 1 to 2, your base player damage is 1. 3 to 4, it's 2. Stage 5, it's 3. Stage 6, it's 4. And stage 7 plus, it's 5 damage. So in those late, I think in the internal chat at the Heroes Hearth tournament, we called it a game of scratches, at the end when it's 2 super comps and they're trading scratches. It's now they're a little bit more.
It's a wet noodle fight.
So it's just a regular noodle fight games. But any comments here, Khroen, on this change?
I like changes that make lose streaking at the beginning viable. I think that's something that players did, good players were rewarded for in Dota Auto Chess, being able to lose streak.
Yes.
But overall, TFT is a lot faster paced of a game, so that's just not a viable thing to be able to do, unfortunately. I would like to see more of that, and I think this change goes in a good direction for that. But I haven't liked the player damage just being in the game in general. And it feels really bad late game if you lose to 1 unit and you just die, exactly or 1 over because of that extra damage. So
it's free, right? That's what makes it feel bad, is you're not earning it.
No, but I personally just like it. I don't know how other people feel about it, but Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of the player damage either, because I feel like when I lose, it's because of that most of the time, right? It's that last little cotton ball going to your silver wing, right? And then it like homes in, and then all of a sudden you get taken down, and But my quick question for you, Khroen, because are you okay with a game that lasts like 40 minutes? Is that something that you're fine with, or would you rather the game be shorter?
Yeah, I was actually just gonna bring that up. I personally am fine with it. I didn't mind how long Dota Auto Chess games last for. I don't mind, going for 40, 45, maybe even like 50 minutes in a super, super long game. And I haven't really seen many complaints from maybe other people have, but for TFT, like, oh, the game's going too long or something. Like, I'm perfectly fine with that personally. I would rather be able to lose streak and add another really cool, fun, dynamic, skill-based mechanic into the game with lose streaking, making it not as feel bad early. So you're being forced to build your early items just so you will not lose a bunch of HP and like maybe even lose before Wolves round or something like that. It's just feels really bad that the game is quite that fast-paced, in my opinion.
I feel like a lot of people were actually happy with the fact that the games were longer, right? Because it allowed you to get your, forecast guys out. Like it's like you could go team cons that you couldn't go before because the game was so short, right? So yeah, this was the most intriguing change for me in terms of like I don't know if it's necessary. I was fine with the length. I actually really really liked it. It's the same length as a regular league game. Right, so if you're used to that, then it's not a problem. But I think eventually this game, because I used to work at a game studio, and something that when it came to games like this is if you're ever going to port it on mobile, it needs to be able to be played in sessions, right? And I think that's kind of what they might be going to, right? Like there's kind of two things, right? There's the Switch side of things, which is like for long car trips, right? And you could do something like that. But even a 40-minute game, if you have like a 1-hour trip, is like an awkward amount of time, right?
Yeah,
You'd rather get 2:30s in there, or it has to be enough or short enough for you to play on the toilet, right?
Yeah.
And so like you either have like the 5-minute game, and I think or I think Hearthstone is like the max of that, and then and they're trying to figure out how to split the difference. But I think I'm not necessarily sure I even need this on my phone. It'd be cool. But I was fine with the 40 minutes. I was enjoying myself the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want them to change. Like, I don't want them to change the actual core game for mobile. Not because I don't like mobile. I'm a huge mobile game fan and advocate. But just make like turbo mode if I want to play it on mobile. Look, that's fine. I think there's a like auto chess like type of mod or some not a mod but like a different like an off-brand auto chess game on mobile that has like a turbo mode where like you get like twice as much gold, players take damage, and you're like going like twice as fast. It's fun, but it's not like the competitive game. But it's fun, so I would rather them do that. But let's move on here and talk about some of the trait changes. Brawlers got a little bit of a nerf here. Brawlers are quite strong and are getting a bit too much free health, so we're toning that down a bit. They were previously, the bonus health was 300 at tier 1, 700 at tier 2, and 1200 at tier 3. Has now been changed to 300, 600, 1000. So a minus 100 at tier 2 and a minus 200 health at tier 3. Khroen, have you noticed a difference in brawlers in this new patch?
I think they're still fine. It's a nerf that you might feel a little bit, but it's not too impactful. I think brawlers are still pretty much in a similar position that they were last patch.
Gotcha. Boop, any other thoughts on brawlers?
I'll always go brawlers. That's my team comp right there. I don't know why, but I just love going brawlers. So I'll play it whether it's bad or good, most likely. So it means nothing to me.
Volibear was my initial favorite unit back in the carry days, but
Josh OG unit too.
Exactly, the Josh OG, the big boy. Next up, we've got Demon. We've redesigned the Demon trait to not quite shut down the ability dependent units like it was before. Instead, demons drain mana, allowing them to cast their spells faster. So instead of doing the mana burn where it just completely burns their mana and they take damage like they did before, now demon basic attacks have a 40% chance to burn 20 mana from their target and return either 15, 30, or 45 depending on how many demons you have. 2, 4, and 6, right? Yeah, 2, 4, and 6 demons mana to the attacker. This one seems pretty big, Khroen. It seems just from watching your stream and a couple other people today that demons are kind of back, not as oppressive, but they're back in the mix here.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think outside of Hextech, this is probably the most important slash biggest change of the patch. I think that demons, they provide a lot more options now. I think the fact that you can gain mana will make some demons see play a lot more. Still burning 20 mana is impactful, and you might run it just for that, but heroes that are champions that got buffed, like Brand, could synergize very, very well with this. And as Shojins, for example, to be able to just get multiple casts off of their ultimate, it's really huge, and I think we'll be seeing even 2 demons being strong, since it's still a 40% chance at 2 demons. I think demons are going to be pretty prevalent in this meta.
Boop, any other comments on demon?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about gaining mana is the fact that the game is almost based around getting your mana full, getting those ultimates down, right? So if you're going to be able to do that faster in any way, shape, or form, that's a big change. And so that explains why when I had 2 demons at the one game that I won today, and I had those 2 demons, why my Varus was ulting so frequently. Because I was like, because it doesn't feel like that much, but it kind of stacks on top of each other, right? And the more it triggers, the more you get to use it. And for a character like Varus, where 80% of his damage is with his ability, right? Just to be able to use that more often just inherently makes that character more viable and more and easier to use, right? So I think that's good for them. But I can't help but demons still have a sour taste in my mouth from when they did make your mana go away and burn it, man, because that just wasn't fun. So I always get a little apprehensive, but this time around I think they might be onto something. But again, that's something where I think you pros can start abusing now. So let's see if you guys.
It's definitely a more healthy direction than it was before. With
Yes,
just full burning mana for sure. It was hard to balance.
Yeah, this does seem like a good kind of a middle ground. I mean, I do, from the power level of it and me thinking I'm going to be playing some demons, I like that the percent chance doesn't change. So it's like it's a pretty good percent chance to get it. A little bit better than 1 out of every 3 attacks you're going to be doing the burn. The burn doesn't feel and the amount of mana you steal doesn't change. It's just you can stack more demons to get more mana. Like it scales higher and makes your abilities better rather than scaling and removing more from your opponent. So again, that's kind of that game design of like, well, we want to make your things more powerful, not your opponent's things less powerful. So that's really cool. Being able to play some more AA Trox is going to be really really good for me. All right, so we're kind of running a little bit long here, so we're going to maybe breeze through some of these that aren't necessarily as impactful. If you guys have any questions as listeners about opinions on any of these, feel free to tweet at us or email us at littlelegendspodcast@gmail.com. We will certainly follow up with you later. But ninjas, bonus attack damage and ability power going up by going up by 10 here at the 1D or the 1 ninja, and up by also 10 at the full 4 ninjas. Khroen, is this a big change for ninjas?
Yeah, I think Ninja Assassin, Elementalist, or even just Ninja Assassin comps are very good. Again, at getting top 3 or 4, maybe not winning, but there's definitely a really good mid-game composition now.
Boop, have you used ninjas at all yet?
I've never played ninjas. It's never been a thing that I liked doing. I don't know why. So my personality is still like in your face, like a ninja in TFT, but I don't know. It's just never been drawn to me. So
I mean, I was running ninjas at the height of Ninja Assassin being like broken, and then I've kind of carried it, and it was really bad right at the beginning of it, and now it was decent just because it was usually pretty open. Like you could get your Akalis pretty easily, and like even if it's not as powerful as it was, like having a tier 2 Akali, like having tier 2s of all the ninjas and like a tier 3 Zed is really good. It is hard to close the deal with those, but getting top 4 is pretty good. Nobles, we've been talking about them quite a bit here. The bonus armor and magic resistance has gone from 60 to 70. Is this really that big of a difference? I mean, it felt good anecdotally, but is that 10 additional bonus actually that strong, Khroen?
So it's actually 15 increase. The patch notes here are wrong. It is up to
Oh, okay.
75.
Oh, okay, sure.
So the 15, I think it is a big deal. With their the reason that nobles are bad last patch is Cho'Gath OP, Cho'Gath Void, True Damage, and Void Sorks, which are the most dominant composition. It completely screws over nobles and all their resists. Now Cho'Gath nerfed to the ground. Not nerfed to the ground, but definitely nerfed, as well as just Void Sorks not being that great. So Nobles also getting buffed on top of that, and addition of units like Jinx that have these really good synergies. It's just, I think it's a bit too powerful right now. Definitely, that overtuned list I alluded to before. That is something that's on my overtuned list, Nobles right now.
Yeah, so we're definitely gonna have to be running as much nobles as we can before it gets changed. Boop, we gotta get in some
Yeah,
games.
it's funny because nobles was always that like comp before this was like, I guess I'm running nobles, right? Like, and now you get to actually do it. So we'll see if it's fun or not.
I always liked running it. It was just really hard if you didn't get the kale, but when you get the kale in the carousel, feels good, man. Next up, sorcerers. 3-piece sorcerer is just a little too strong due to its versatility. The bonus ability power has changed from 45% 100% to 40% 100%. So 5% decrease for the 3-piece sorks. Is this relevant, Khroen, or is this just a little
originally I didn't think it would be that relevant, but with all the other changes combined, it seems as though sorcerers don't really have a great position in this meta. I think I might be wrong though. I think there will be some 3 sorcerer compositions that will pop up and still be good. Maybe 6, but more unlikely since the mid game, which is the most important part of the game, is not going to be as strong. But yeah, it's more of an impact than it looks like.
Yeah, it seems like some of these are like, instead of nerfing like one specific thing, they wanted to nerf like a group of comps, and instead of being like, okay, this one unit is gone, it's like we're gonna take a little bit from here, a little bit from here, and a little bit from here, and take it off. So that's a very interesting way to do that. Boo, do you have any comments on Sorks?
Nah, I think you covered it well.
Cool. Yeah, we're gonna be cruising through these champions as well. But the last one for the traits here is wild. Attack speed per stack increased from 10% to 12%. I thought wilds were in a decent spot in 9.15b. This seems like, I mean, obviously it's a buff. Is wild on the radar for you, Khroen?
Not yet. Maybe when it gets to 14%, it will be. I mean, early game, it's a nice little addition if you have like a tier 2 Nidalee, tier 2 Warwick early game, or maybe even Ari. Like, sure, it helps a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be, like that wild sorcerer shapeshifter meta that, we saw in the very early stages of Teamfight Tactics. I think they'll buff it again. I really do.
So we could see the wild unleashed here. Okay, so instead of going through all these, we've got Elise, Kha'Zix, Mordekaiser, Nidalee, and Vayne as tier 1 champions, all getting various changes. Is there any one of those, or are there any ones that are particularly poignant for you, Khroen, that the buff or nerf is really impactful here?
Elise still bad. I think Nidalee good, better early game where she won't troll her heal, and Vayne potentially I think could be exploitable, doing 16% at tier 3 percent max health bonus damage with her silver bolts. I think if you build maybe an RFC like double rune ends on Vayne, it could theoretically be broken. I'm not sure,
especially in Earth mode, right? Once that attack speed comes in.
6 nobles, Vayne, double rune ends. Maybe that's the future.
That's I mean, even before that was still pretty good on Vayne, right?
Yeah, still decent.
But yeah,
sure.
the 16 does definitely seem big. Tier 2 champs, we got Braum with a health nerf, Lissandra total mana decreased, which is actually a buff because it means she gets her ult earlier. Lulu, the ability health, we got a nerf there, and Zed just got an all-around buff to health, attack speed, and attack damage. Ability damage. Any of these particularly impactful?
Zed. Zed not only got buffed by ninjas getting buffed, but all three of his stats, health, attack speed, ability damage, getting buffed. It doesn't feel as bad when Zed does or stops attacking to cast. That'll do a lot of damage. Earlier today, I had a Zed 2 early game with Infinity Edge. He was just one-shotting units when I got 3 assassins for the majority of the early and mid game. It was nuts. I think Zed is overtuned for the mid game. He falls off kind of hard, but that's why I think ninja assassins, elementalists, or even just ninja assassins are really good at the mid game and will get you to that top 3, top 4, but then gets outscaled. Maybe we'll see some further changes to him later, but yeah, he's on my radar for overtuned champions.
Nice. Yeah,
they really want him to be good for some reason. I can't figure it out, but they like really love Zed. Even in the regular game, right? It's just like they try their hardest to put him in the meta somehow. And I think it's coming over to TFT too.
It's that Faker versus Ryu clip.
Yeah, exactly. One of the most legendary esports moments of all time.
I love it. Zed's one of my... I just like ninjas. I don't know why. Like probably it's like the opposite for you, Boop. Like I feel like I shouldn't like ninjas, but... all right, tier 3 champs. We got AA Trox. I'm always gonna forever call him AA Trox. When I saw someone call him that in chat, I just nope. That's his name now. He no longer casts his ability if there's no enemies in range. Evelyn got that same, I guess, quality of life change. Obviously, it's a buff, but it seems like it should have been like that anyway. Yeah. Katarina also got that. Kennen also got that. And then Shyvana got a improved AI for her leap here. Cool. Any of these that are particularly I mean, these are just they're buffs obviously, but it's like now your abilities work the way that you probably thought that they did.
Definitely. So the Evelyn got buffed, I believe, last patch as well, a bunch of buffs, and now she not only prioritizes her the current target that she's hitting, but also doesn't cast if there's nobody there. Both of these things combined with the buffs, I think Evelyn's actually had a really, really good, maybe even overtuned. I'm not quite sure. She didn't make that list, but she might, combined with the fact that Demons also got buffed as well. So she'll cast ult more often. Her execute threshold is pretty nuts. She's on my radar for sure, especially like she takes the place that Pyke used to in that, like, putting 3 assassins into a composition, especially with ninja assassins.
Yeah, I definitely stacked her with tier items last patch, and she just Pepega ulted on no one in the back, and I'm like, ah, man.
My favorite's when you put an RFC on her, and then she doesn't even get close to the people. But she just ults air the whole time.
Yeah. Oh, that actually reminds me. RFC on Pyke, or not Pyke, sorry, on Graves now got changed to be just awesome. It basically turns his... It works kind of the way that I thought it was originally going to work, in that his splash damage just goes out further. Khroen, I know I saw you playing a little bit today against someone who had the like tier 3 Graves with the double RFC. What are your initial thoughts on that?
It smashed me in the mid game when they had a tier 3 Tristana and tier 3 Graves and double rapid fire. I'm like, I lost this game, but I actually ended up getting a pretty strong mid to late game composition, and I think knocked that person out in 5th place. I would like to see it being run more, maybe with like Blade Masters. 2 RFCs and a Blade Master, something like that. But it definitely potentially can be very strong if someone finds the way to optimize it correctly.
Yeah, someone was saying, I don't remember where I heard this, but someone was saying it's kind of like Misfortune alt all the time.
Yeah,
and he's gonna hit someone with it too. That's like
not just troll. Misfortune AI. She needs that AI change.
I know. I can't believe that they didn't give her the anti-Pepega pills that they gave the other champs. Tier 4 champs, we have Akali with an attack damage increase, brand ability damage buff, and his starting mana went from 125 to 150, and then Cho'Gath, like you alluded to earlier, Khroen, ability damage pretty heavily nerfed here. Thoughts on, obviously you kind of alluded to Cho'Gath being much worse now, but the Brandon Akali changes relevant here?
Oh yeah, I think all these changes are very relevant. Akali, 10 attack damage, pretty strong skills with a ninja bonus. Part of the reason why ninja assassins I think are pretty good as a top 3-4 composition. Brand with the demon changes and his damage buffs and starting mana buff, so he'll ult a bit faster. Only needs 100 mana now to cast up or down from 125. While gaining mana from the demons. I think he's very strong right now. Potentially something that you can stack items on and have him carry. As long as his ultimate doesn't troll where he shoots one person instead of the whole clump of people.
Yeah.
That sometimes does happen, but I still think Brand's in a very good spot right now and want to test more of him. I think he might fit on that overtuned units list, but not quite yet.
Yeah, I always liked Brand as a strong carry. Boop, have you played with any of these heroes?
Yeah, I think the brand change is pretty big. When a guy like that with an AoE ult with more ability power gets his ult more often, he's gonna screw you up, and he was definitely doing a good job against the Yordles that I was seeing him go against. So, and then seeing Yordles die is always nice.
For sure. Okay, tier 5 champions. Karthus got a shift in his mana. Still has the same. Still needs the same amount of mana to cast his initial ult, but then the subsequent ults cost more. He went from 0 starting in 85 total to 40 starting in 125 total. So not quite as many Karthus alts. Kale got an attack speed nerf from 1.1 down to 1, and Misfortune got a health buff and a total mana buff. How big are these changes, Khroen?
I think usually you would win a fight off of the first Karthus ulti, so it's not too impactful there. But with Sorcerers getting nerfed and the other ones, other small changes, not really conducive to Sorcerers being as strong in this meta. It might be more of a change than I really realize. Yeah, Kale, slight nerf, MF. Actually, it's really interesting because MF with double Seraphs and Morellos, which was very abusable a few patches ago, might be a thing again. I haven't tested it or really seen much of it, but it's something to definitely experiment with.
Yeah, that's. I mean, you can basically turn her into a Graves with double RFC.
Yeah, instantly ults, and if she has Morellos, does more damage, applies Morellos. I mean, Morellos, the damage got nerfed. I guess we'll talk about items in a second.
Yeah, well, we can talk about it. We can talk about it now because we do want to run through these quickly. Yeah, the Morellos change. Burn damage, 20% max health over 5 seconds is now 20% max health over 10 seconds. So the amount of upfront damage is lowered because it's over a longer amount of time, but the buff or the debuff lasts longer.
Yeah,
and that's the same for red buff as well. So I guess it's a I don't know, it's not even really a nerf to the damage because the damage is still being dealt. It's just not as quickly.
I think it is a little bit of a nerf. I think usually the fights would be decided in that first 5 seconds of Morello's applying, and that upfront damage would help in secure kills faster. It's not a huge nerf, but I think it's pretty relevant. I believe the patch notes for red buff are wrong. I think red buff also goes to 20%. No, it says that it's a 20%. No, yeah, never mind. I misread that. But Morello's a bit of a nerf. Red buff, maybe a bit of a buff. I mean, it still doesn't tick for quite as much, but it lasts for a bit longer. So, yeah, I still saw a lot of people still building those items. I think they're still probably in a pretty decent spot. We did see Hush get reworked now. There's a 33% chance on hit to prevent the enemy champion from gaining mana, which is what they're now calling mana lock for 4 seconds, rather than the silence. I mean, this is slightly worse, right? Because you can't, if they're already casting their alts, having them be mana locked won't prevent them from like finishing it. Like you can't stop a Karthus ult with this now. Yeah, slightly less percent chance to proc. 33 now down from 50.
Oh, it was 50 I think, before.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 50 before, so definitely nerfed in that regard. I think it might also be an unintended current mechanic, aka maybe a bug, that demons from their trait will still gain mana through mana lock. I believe I saw that happen earlier today, so maybe something that's a bit maybe abusable or just makes Hush a bad item for now. Not quite sure how I feel about that, but not as strong, I think. Not as strong.
It's one of those sounds that like it just says more than any words could. Right? Yeah, that's all you need.
Yeah. Okay, I don't want to go through all these because we are running out of time here quickly. Are there any other items here, Khroen, that really have stuck out to you in terms of being big changes here?
Ionic Spark now stacking. I think potentially stacking Ionic Sparks when you couldn't do it before.
Okay.
The damage is reduced by a little bit, but it could be very strong on a comp that's very tanky. Maybe even nobles or brawlers that might go to overtime. Definitely something to keep an eye out. Besides that, not really anything else. GA a bit worse. The bug was fixed, so that's cool. But yeah, that's kind of the standout one, Ionic Spark for me.
Yeah, the GA bug just always felt so bad.
Yeah.
It's like I invested in this item, I'm expecting it to do something, and it just doesn't. Boop, was there any other items on here that you thought made a big impact for you?
I think we're Gucci, man. I think we covered it.
Cool. Overall, scale 1 to 5, 1 being holy crap, revert this patch, 5 being this is the greatest thing ever, we should keep this and never patch the game again. Khroen, where are you I mean, these are obviously at two huge ends of the spectrum, but where are you putting this patch?
Overall, I would say I like this patch. I would put it at a 4, high 3 point something probably. Okay. Overall, I enjoy it. I mean, I just enjoy new things. I enjoy being able to, learn, adapt, and be ahead of the curve. Well, I talked about earlier in the little intro that it kind of takes me some time to get used to things. But if I'm already playing PvE and, I'm just watching a whole bunch of streams, seeing where everybody's going, I really like to be able to adapt and have it work out. So changes I like. I think the changes are good. So overall, I'm happy with it.
Cool. Well, I will definitely be vocal about my more specific opinions on Twitter once I actually get some time to play. But, guys, like I alluded to earlier, we are out of time here. We did run over a little bit, so Khroen, I do appreciate you sticking around for some extra time. Now is the time to sell out, shout out, tell people where they can find you, all that good stuff for you, Khroen.
Oh, for sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. It was a lot of fun. Hopefully, I helped provide some insight.
Oh, I mean, with the Morellos thing, I'm still thinking about it. I'm still thinking about
the Vi Morellos. I'm like,
yeah.
We both literally with like eyes wide up.
I told you I was a brawler player. Yeah. I love that item too. And like now that like putting it on Cho, like it's nice to get the burn, but you could get it a more fun way by putting it on Vi, right? Oh man.
But yeah, shout outs to Cloud9. Very excited to be a part of this wonderful organization. So hopefully be able to do a lot of great things in the future with them. A shout out to all of Cloud9's sponsors, HyperX, BMW, AT&T, Omen, Puma, Microsoft, Red Bull, Secret Lab, and Twitch. Yeah, I stream myself over on twitch.tv/Khroen, KHROEN. My Twitter is the same. I stream pretty much every day, maybe not Mondays, at 2 p.m. CST. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for coming on as well. Guys, you can follow the show as well on Twitter at LILLegendsPod. You can email us any questions you have at littlelegendspodcast@gmail.com. Also, send us your winning builds. Send us your victory screens with your winning builds. We want to showcase some of those on the show and talk about those, as well as like get some ideas, get the blood flowing in our brains for some builds that are taking you guys to the brink of victory here. Boop, where can people find you on Twitter and the internet?
I'm at twitter.com at Booposaurus Rex. On YouTube, it's 100owl100, and I will be casting some contenders. Big show match is going to be. I know this is TFT, but this is a big deal for me. We're going to be casting some really big games coming on Monday on Overwatch Contenders, so that feels really good. That's what I'll be.
Nice, nice. You can also find all of my TFT stuff at League of Blev on Twitter. If you want my other stuff, you can probably find it. You can also find the show live on Twitch at twitch.tv/The Blevins. For now, at least, and we don't have a consistent schedule because we are too early in that. But definitely check out the Twitter for when we're going live and whatnot. But guys, thank you everyone who listened. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff on and leave reviews on iTunes. All that. We're on all the platforms. Little Legends Podcast. I believe we are at the point where if you just search for Teamfight Tactics on your podcast platform, we will show up. Maybe first, depending on the platform, but definitely in the top few. So thank you everyone who has supported us. Yeah, exactly. That's what happens when you are one of the first ones to start. But thank you everyone who has followed and whatnot so far. Let us know what you think. And I don't have a good outro for this, but thanks everyone for listening, and we'll talk to you guys and see you guys next time. Bye-bye.